Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing great this morning. Hope you guys are conquesting and having a lot of conquest in yourself and other people and other things around you, that you're able to have a little more self-control, my friends, a little more of the ability to make decisions that impact your life in a positive way. And what we're trying to do is obviously become the best person you become under God, and making sure that you're following His purpose. All right, thank you guys again for all the great comments, and I have a lot of them I got to catch up with a little bit here. I will also put a bunch on the shout outs today when I get a chance here. Let's talk about one that's a few people have mentioned this, and I did one a long time ago on the Bible verses talking about Samson and Delilah. And we talked about that and just kind of what happened. But I want to take a different approach a little bit on this one. And let's talk about this more in terms of the symbolic nature of the passage and what it means when it comes to retention and the things that we're talking about. This kind of goes a little bit into what we talked about on this last one, talking about Jezebel a little bit as well. And it doesn't matter what you call this temptation. And it could be anything. You know, we talked about all kinds of addictions that people have, whether it's alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, it doesn't really matter. Pornography, it doesn't really matter. Because the idea is you're basically having trouble dealing with a certain thing that you feel you need. And once again, we talked about this yesterday. If you feel like you need it, then you're really becoming more of a slave to it. And it's very difficult to break away from that. And that's why we do all this, basically, to kind of help people kind of break away and see things a little more objectively when it comes to their needs. They don't need this. And after a while, if you take yourself away from the picture, you're able to see more clearly and make a decision. I think over the last, I'm almost at 1,000 days now, 989 or 90 or something like that. And I could see a little more clearly than I did on day one that you don't really need this in your life. And we get caught up with the matrix and this blue matrix where people are telling us a lot of the things that we don't need, and they want us to buy things, they want to have people under control, all these different types of things that make it difficult for us to really keep ourselves well balanced. And I think the key is trying to realize that nothing wrong with, having pleasure and talking, with a partner and those type of things and having children. That's all great. But the out of control nature that people are in right now, because of it, begs for us to kind of take a step back a little bit and say, what are we doing here? What are we really doing here? And I think that's the key to it. I mean, what is the purpose of intercourse? What's the purpose of this beyond having procreation? What is it really? What is it? And that's where the question you have to kind of ask yourself. So as we get into this Samson Delilah story, we're talking about a more of a symbolic nature here than anything else as well. The story itself, we know what happened is Samson was pressured by Delilah to give his secret away and his strength. And at first he didn't, but it took a while, and she kept kind of going after him, and eventually he did give in, and then he perished. He took everybody else with him, but he perished, and by giving up his secret and doing that. And you say to yourself, well, why does this happen? How can this happen? Well, remember, my friends, that again, the temptation, we're talking about a symbolic type of meaning here as well, besides the real type of meaning of what happened. We're talking about a symbolic type of thing. What do I mean by that? Well, when we talk about this, we're talking about something where we talk about the energy that people have. And again, obviously Samson had a great deal of energy. You can just imagine back in those days what kind of energy he had. Unbelievable strength, unbelievable probably testosterone, all those things were very strong. Well, any type of woman, including Delilah, would want that. Now, we've had a few people talk about this in the messages, and I'll probably save this later on for another one, and I don't remember exactly who we did that talked about this. Maybe I have it in my notes here. But, yeah, one of the things that we really kind of talk about is the idea that women really desire your energy. And we've always talked about this with vampire suckers and energy suckers and things like that. Whether it's emotional, whether it's actually physical, women will see this and they want to be around it. Animals want to be around it. So why wouldn't other people? People sense that energy and they want to be part of it. Now, whether they want to be part of it or they actually want it, there's a lot of different types of things there. And a lot of the stuff we talk about is subconscious. So Delilah, for many different reasons, wanted that energy or wanted something to happen to Samson. But she kept kind of pestering him to try to get the secret, and he wore him down. And this is what the devil can do to you over time. That's why it's not a good idea to play around with this situation. And some people say, oh, it's okay to have, a little bit of pictures here and watch this. But then you fall down that rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're back to square one again. You're trying to do it. Now, I as I told you, it happened to me many, many times. So I'm really familiar with this idea of trying to take it slowly. I finally decided to go hard mode, almost 1,000 days ago, and I said that was the best decision I ever made. Because once you start committing to something like that, now you're saying, okay, let me go back to a balance in life that I used to have. And we've always talked about this. Moderation is the key. But the key is really to not allow yourself to be controlled by other things. I don't care if you're talking about sex. I don't care if you talk about people. I don't care if you're talking about, do not let yourself be controlled. You always have the free will to decide. Now, you may not have a lot of choices, and you may be saying, okay, I'm kind of stuck choosing this or that. But you have the choice not to even participate. And that goes back to you. And so the question really becomes, in this case, Samson obviously had a decision he could have made. He could have kept going and saying no. But he gave in because he felt like it was better to give in than to keep doing this. And because he cared a lot for Delilah, he kind of fell into this. And this is something we have to be careful with. We have to be detached enough to use reason. Because a lot of times you're going to get the same sort of thing from people that you're with. Remember, women love that energy. This is why when you're sitting with them, and we had a few people talk about this, they'll play with their hair when they're talking to you. They're very nervous. Why are they nervous? Well, obviously, if you want to use it in human terms, you could say that person's nervous to be with you, around you. But think of nervous energy. We talk about it back in terms of energy. Now I'm talking about terms of energy, my friends. Warriors, if you look at energy, that is something that she senses your energy. And she's wanting your energy. Now, whether or not she admits that or not, she may just call it chemistry, liking, all this type of stuff. But she wants to be around you because of that type of thing. Now, how they approach it, lots of different things. I've had situations where women take the opposite approach and they try to be, mean, or they try to, kind of get to you. So, and then behind the scenes, they really like you a lot, but they want to try to control the situation. And again, I've had, girlfriends in the past too who were just the opposite. They wanted to actually go ahead and also, kind of take over that energy, and they want it all the time. So it doesn't matter if it's physical either, guys. It could be physical. It could also be spiritual. It could be emotional. Once again, it's a draining situation for you. Men are typically very good at giving. We give all the time. And we don't only think about it this way, but let's think about this as warriors. You're giving your life, in many cases, to protect an area. Warrior nation, you're protecting the warrior country you're in. You're protecting the warrior city you're in. You're protecting the family you have. You're also providing. You're giving a lot to that. And I'm not saying that, women and other people don't give as well. But the fact is that you are, as a male, a giving person. So you're giving that seed to the female to actually have the child. You're giving her that energy. You ever notice that after you have, intercourse, that she will feel great because she's getting especially if you're releasing, she feels great. Well, you have been released enough and you fall asleep. Because the idea is that you've just passed on your energy. And it makes sense if you think about it, just from a logical standpoint. Whenever you're doing this, you're passing energy. Now, if you're doing it with anybody, and you're just kind of looking at pictures, that if you think about that, and about that for 47 years. That is a total crazy waste, right? A waste. Because two things. One is that just going into the ether and nothing's happening, right? Or you're sitting there saying, wow, what am I doing this for, right? I'm draining myself dry. And we see this a lot of young people now, having erection dysfunctions and erections and things like this. And a lot of that, in my mind, is caused by too much of the pornography. And I just talked to somebody the other day, it's very addicted to it. And so because of that, it's hard for them to actually treat real women differently. They're nervous with real women. They're not used to it. The illusion of the fantasy is different than the real woman. And I think that's the other issue when you talk about this whole idea of pornography and things like that. That's not real. And so you're living in a fake world, and you're expecting the women you meet day to day to be that way, and they're not. They're not, And not that they can't, play act and do things, but the bottom line is they're not going to be like that. And they're not going to be that way where you think of them only as objects to have sex with. I mean, it's a real live person you're talking about. And this is why I think this type of thing is so dangerous to kind of look at and do. And that's why we talk back about Jezebel, and we talk about Samson and Delilah again. So as we talk about the symbolic nature of this, we have to realize that temptation is always around us. And we have to be careful of what we get tempted with. And I think it's important to realize that Samson's case, he fell victim to that, not realizing his weakness was, in this case, Delilah, a beautiful woman, and he gave away himself. And you can't do that, because no matter how good any kind of interaction is with somebody, it's not worth your life, is it? And there's a couple of famous Bible types of verses where, they talk about the adulteress coming in, and the seductive person, the enchantress comes in, and they take the person in, and basically the wife is married, and so it's almost kind of leading the person to slaughter. This is why you have to be in control of the situation and dictate things on your terms with people, not allow them to dictate you and get yourself into a lot of trouble. Before you know it, you can't get out of it, and you're like that lamb being led to the slaughter, which is what happened, in these Bible verses. All right, my friends. Anyway, great topic again. I'm glad we can focus on this a little bit. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you can go back to the first one, it was probably about a year ago or something like that. I think I did one on Samson and Delilah, the actual kind of story. We talked more about that than the symbolic nature. So, all right, my friends, have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys continue to keep conquesting. And remember two things. First, every day is a great day to a great warrior. And number two, my friends, I want you guys all to, God bless you guys, and continue to battle